Okay, down, you got the ATIS information Bravo.
Okay.
Winds are out of the south at 5 knots. RVR is 1200. Temperature dew point's 1515.
Right.
Altimeter is 2992. We're looking at the ILS runway 26 Cat 2 approach is in use.
Okay. John, that brings to mind the Cat 2 is a lengthy briefing. It also consists of the monitored approach briefing. So at this time, if we can't get a head start, I'm going to go ahead and transfer controls to you.
Okay.
Or we can get the in-range, and when it comes down to approach briefing, we'll transfer controls, and then I'll brief the monitored approach briefing and the approach point at the same time. So go ahead and in-range when you can.
Okay. In-range, windshield heat's coming on. Cabin signs are on. Landing data speeds are set. Altimeters 2992 set and cross-checked.
At this time, 2992.
Pressurization is checked and set for Houston. And we're up to the approach brief.
Okay. Heading right now is 360, flight level 180. Autopilot is engaged, coupled to my side. You ready to transfer?
Roger.
You have the aircraft.
I have the aircraft.
Break it out here. Monitored approach briefing for the Category 2 approach. Just kind of listen up. Don't expect you to verify necessarily, but I'm going to read out what all this consists of, okay?
Yes.
For the aircrew and the airport requirements, the aircrew, captain 300 hours, pilot and commanding coax aircraft, 100 hours in type. We've got that. First officer, 100 hours in type, and you've got that. Flight crew must have completed all required training and certification. They've done that. Note the first officer requirement of 100 hours in type is not required when a check airman occupies the captain position. For the airport, minimum threshold crossing height of 50 feet for Cat 2, obviously localizer and glide slope. Outer and inner markers are authorized substitute. ALSIF 1, 2, or ICAO equivalent lighting, high intensity runway lights, touchdown zone and centerline lights, full runway available. A reduced runway may be approved for dispatch. Doesn't affect us today. Transmissometers for Cat 2. It says touchdown zone must be controlling, midfill and rollout. Not normally required, but for Cat 2, if the runway is in excess of 8,000 feet, which 26 is, midfield RVR is required for report. And for Cat 2, if touchdown RVR is below 1600, which we're at 1200, we're definitely going to need, the rollout RVR must be reported also.
Delhi 4100, turn right, heading 030, set and maintain 10,000, Houston altimeter 2992.
030, 10,000 on the altitude and 2992, jet length 4100. 10,000 is set.
10,000 is set.
Okay, and 2992 is altimeters, and we have those set.
2992.
Aircraft requirements. I'm going to read these off. If you hear anything that sounds like it, that we don't have it, let me know. Cat 2, coupled less than 1800 but greater than 1200 RVR. We need, for an AHARS, we need 2. We need 1 ICAS, 2 PFDs, 1 MFD, 1 autopilot, and the yaw damp must be operable. 1 electric trim system, 1 flight director system, or correction, 2 flight director systems. 2 navs, 1 comm, 2 radar altimeters, 1 ground proximity warning system, 1 air data system, 2 engines, both hydraulic systems, 1 and 2. Windshield wipers must be working. We have a standby altimeter, a standby attitude indicator, 1 airspeed indicator, and a Category 2 checklist logic. It says, note the above table attempts to clarify the aircraft MEL requirements for the type of approach, but the actual current MEL is the governing document. Now we're down to performing the radar altimeter test. Radar altimeter 1 for the captain's side. The test is considered satisfactory when the following appears. Magenta test on PFD. Minimums flashes for 5 seconds, then it's steady. Radar altimeter will be 100 plus or minus 10. The ICAS, the EGPWS, NOP, and wind shear NOP. When test button is released, RL too low to range. Also for the first officers, I'll brief that It'll be, the test is considered satisfactory when the following appears. Magenta test on PFD. Minimum flashes for 5 seconds, then steady. Radar altimeter is 100 plus or minus 10. I'll go ahead and do those tests right now. My test. Cancel those, it'll clear. Do yours, ready?
Ready.
Test. Okay, that passes. Next, we're going to review the call-outs for monitored approaches. All altitude calls are barometric. As far as the captain's call-outs, I'll be giving you a call at 1,000 feet above touchdown zone, at 500 feet above touchdown zone, and 300 feet above touchdown zones. And the calls are 1,000 feet, 500, and 300. At 100 feet above decision height, I will say, approaching minimums, I'm going heads up. A decision to pass the decision height, you will hear me say, landing, I have the aircraft. As far as you on those calls, when I say 500, just give me a check or checks. And if captain has not taken control of the aircraft by decision height, minimums, go around. That's your call out. If you do not hear me say landing, I have the aircraft, you state minimums, go around. Approach limits for Cat 2. Performance limits, middle marker to decision height, glide slope deviation not to exceed 1 dot. Localizer deviation not to exceed 1/3 of a dot. Airspeed plus or minus 5 knots of target. Maximum rate of descent 1,000 feet per minute. No new warning lights or flags. Raw data must match computed data. No GPWS activation. Wind limits including the gusts. Maximum headwind 20. Crosswind max would be 10 knots. Maximum tailwind would be 10 knots. No level wind shear alert systems. No reported wind shear gain or loss greater than 10 knots. A mandatory missed approach. What would mandate a missed approach would be from middle marker to decision height, a change in approach mode, loss of a required aircraft component, loss of a required ground component, exceeding a performance limit. Below decision height, out of a normal landing position, loss of required visual references, not on the runway in the touchdown zone. For our missed approach procedures, simultaneously, it's basically almost the same. We press either toga button, manually rotate or autopilot rotates if you're coupled, to the initial go-around. Attitude of 10 degrees, nose up. Set max thrust. Call outs will be this. Go around, max thrust, flaps 9. Positive rate, gear up, heading low bank. And we will retract flaps on schedule. At or above decision height and any of the required parameters are exceeded, the first officer will initiate the missed approach. At decision height, if the captain has not made the landing I have the aircraft call, once again the FO will initiate the missed approach. After the landing I have the aircraft call and the captain has control of the aircraft, if a missed approach is required, the captain will execute the missed approach. Under no circumstances will a landing be attempted after a go-around is initiated. Landing procedures. Proper seat height is necessary to ensure optimum flight deck cutoff angle for a visual landing. Approach lights will appear directly in front of the nose in low visibility. Approaching decision height, the captain should place his or her hand on the throttle quadrant below the first officers in anticipation of the landing I have the aircraft call and assuming control of the aircraft. To continue below decision height, the pilot must have sufficient visual reference with the Cat 2 lighting system and or runway environment to safely continue the approach by visual reference alone. Use of landing lights is at the option of the captain. It may be advantageous to delay use of the landing lights until the touchdown or not at all. A like to leave the nose and the taxi lights off is what I'll do. Just leave the landing lights on. Use of the autopilot to minimize authorized altitude is advised. The use of flaps 22 is required. Lengthy, that's it. To the point. Now I'm going to go ahead and roll right into the approach plate. You have that 71-4A, Houston, Texas, George Bush.
100, turn right heading 090, set and maintain 7,000.
Right, 090, 7,000, Jetlink 4100.
7,000 is set.
7 is set. Okay, I'd like to go ahead and proceed with the approach plate briefing. And it's George Bush, Intercontinental at Houston, November 9th of 01. Plate is 71-4A. ILS runway 26, Cat 2. The frequency is 109.7. Final approach course will be 265. We'll cross Nixon at 2,000. Also note that our radar altimeters are set at 103, 105 is as close as we can get. Airport elevation is 97 and touchdown zone is 95. Minimum safe altitude out to the northwest is 2,400 and to the southeast and east it would be 3,100. We have, as far as intercept altitudes, if we intercept above 4,000, the only thing we have to worry about is there is a mandatory step down at Nixon, from Kearns to Nixon, and that will begin at 10.9. And again, crossing Nixon at 2,000 feet. I'd like to note that we need an ALS of 2 lighting system, and that our missed approach, if we conduct a missed approach, it will be climb to 1,000, climbing right turn to 3,000, outbound on the Humble 116.6 019 radial to Cleep intersection and hold. Appears to be a teardrop entry. Also like to read a note at the top of the page. It said, number 1 says special aircrew and aircraft certification is required, and radar is also required. Simultaneous approaches authorized with runway 27. And also for straight in landing Cat 2, radar altimeter is 103 for precision height. And RVR 1200, which we have that. Do you have any questions? Okay, if you don't have any questions, the approach briefing is complete. And that will complete the in-range approach briefing complete. In-range is complete. I'll go ahead and couple it over to your side when you're ready.
Jetlink 4100, maintain 2,000 till established. You're cleared for the ILS 26 Category 2 approach. Contact tower Nixon 127.35. 125.35.
Roger that. 2,000 till established. Cleared ILS Cat 2, runway 26. We'll contact the tower at Nixon. Go for the approach.
Approach is armed. Set miss approach altitude 3,000, please.
3,000 is set.
Thank you. Set 3,000.
Localizer's alive.
Copy. Localizer's live.
That's your heading up, okay?
Please.
Glide slope is alive.
Gear down. Flaps 22. Landing checklist, please.
Speed checks. Brenda, please be seated for landing. Flight attendant is notified. Gear down, 3 green.
Handle down, 3 green.
Flaps 22.
Flaps are set 22.
Thrust to take off, and that's down to the line.
Bug target at 143, please.
Tower.
Roger.
Tower Jetlink 4100 with you, ILS 26.
4100, Roger. Touchdown, mid, and roll out RVR over 4,1200 feet. You're clear to land, runway 26.
Jetlink 4100, clear to land. Thank you. We are cleared to land, if I did not say so.
Thank
Just
you.
to verify that. $1,000. $500.
Checks.
$300. Approaching minimums, I'm going heads up. Landing, I have the aircraft.
Roger, you have the aircraft.
Autopilot. Autopilot. Autopilot.
Houston Tower, Jetlink 4100, ILS 26.
Jetlink 4100, Houston Tower, touchdown, mid, and roll out RVR over 4,1200 feet. You're clear to land, runway 26.
Clear to land, runway 26, Jetlink 4100. Clear to land.
Thank you.
$1,000. $500.
Checks.
$300. Approaching minimums, I'm going heads up.
Approaching minimums.
Minimums, go around. Set max thrust, flaps 9.
Don't sink. Don't sink.
Positive rate.
Gear up. Heading low bank.
Tower Jet Link 4100 with you, Mr. Approach, off 26.
Bug 140, please.
Flight attendant, please be seated for arrival.
Flaps 45 landing checklist.
Target's 137.
Thank you.
Let me check. Flight attendant is notified. The landing gear is down with 3 green.
Got to handle down 3 green.
Flaps 45.
Flap set 45.
Thrust is takeoff, and the yacht out to go on notified tower. Houston Tower Jet Link 4100, ILS 26.
4100, you're clear to land 26.
Clear to land 26, Jet Link 4100. By the way, 3 is set for our mist.
3007.
$1,000. $500.
Checks.
Approaching minimums. Minimums.
Landing.
Autopilot.